Don in London, hello, 9th of November 2009. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour, trying to be perfect, never so. Drinking for 35 years and taking the edge off and trying to be convivial and joyful, and at the same time wondering why somewhere along the line I became dependent on alcohol and then addicted to alcohol. And like anything else, alcohol is a drug, and well, for me it is anyway. I classify it as a drug because it changes and alters my mood. So these days, and for some time now, I've abstained. I've stayed sober one day at a time and found that life can be happy, joyous and free. And it can also be unhappy, not so joyous and not so free, depending on my mental attitude and my behaviour. So on a daily basis I look to the good of living and how to improve my attitude and behaviour. So 35 years of drinking, addicted in the end, kept alive long enough by family, professionals, and to a moment of clarity where I realised I could not beat addiction on my own. My self-will kept on failing, and I have learned that self-will will fail, and self-will run riot to self-obsession leads to a very slow and then painful end. Seen it so many times over the last few years, and the reason why I've been able to see it is I am in a fellowship where people try to keep sober one day at a time, and that fellowship is AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. And the gift is, if we get the idea that we can be sober, we keep on the path. And if we get the idea and resentful that life is not doing for us what we thought it ought to do and should do, or we're not getting our way in life, we can go back, relapse and start the old process again and find ourselves back in a really big problem. The gift for me is actually the fellowship is probably the most forgiving place on the planet, in terms of saying whatever happens, keep coming back. And I've met very few people who have found sobriety first visit to AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. Some people do, and what a gift that must be. But it took me a few goes to try and find out why the fellowship might work for me. And it can work for anyone if we are open, honest and willing to change our attitude and behaviour, and we get the support we need. So I cannot do it on my own was my moment of clarity, and since then I've realised family, community, professionals and the fellowship help me keep sober and understand life a little bit better on a daily basis. So it's only progress. Only progress? Well, that's the most fantastic thing. We keep making progress one day at a time, sometimes backwards, sometimes forwards. And there is a statement of intent or a preamble shared at the beginning of every meeting which just explains what AA can and cannot do. And this is it. And I share it here as part of my daily meditation. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And that's what the fellowship does. I cannot speak for the fellowship, neither want to, no inclination to, but it would be foolish if I didn't mention that fellowship is the basis or foundation of my continued sobriety. AA is full of unique, authentic people, and unique, authentic people, those are the empties going out from the restaurant across the road, and that lorry comes along about 4 times a day. It's a good reminder for me, by the way, that jangling sound, what it was like when my dustbin was emptied. Got a smile, haven't you? So unique, authentic people speak for themselves where they choose and where they will. And the anonymity bit of AA for me is simply this. It's a sanctuary to find the truth of who we are and what we are. And if we find the truth of who we are and what we are, we find our spiritual connection to reality. and reality is spiritual. It's the one moment in which we live, and it's how we make best of that moment, which is spiritual for me. So sanctuary anonymity provides the sanctuary, truth provides the spiritual. And I use the AA books of recovery to share this message. So it's my message, based on what I've learned in the fellowship. There's a great big distinction. I can speak for myself where and when I choose, but I cannot speak for other people. Sharing wisdom, yes, from others, and what I learn in the books of AA. So daily reflections, this one is 1 page a day, and each month in the daily reflections, 1 year long, it talks about one of the steps of action to change attitude and behaviour. November is step 11, all about prayer meditation, and whether you believe in God or not, atheist, agnostic or God believer, prayer meditation has a place in our lives. It's going on within us, even though we don't know it. It's always there, that inner voice which talks to us when we wake up, and is still probably talking to us when we're trying to go to sleep. So for today, November 9th, it says here, stepping into the sunlight. But first of all, we shall want sunlight. Nothing much can grow in the dark. Meditation is our step into the sun. Comes from another book called As Bill Sees It, page 10. Sometimes I think I don't have time for prayer and meditation, forgetting that I always found the time to drink. It is possible to make time for anything I want to do, if I want it badly enough. When I start the routine of prayer and meditation, it's a good idea to plan to devote a small amount of time to it. I read a page from our fellowship's books in the morning to say, thank you God, or thank you in good conscience. When I go to bed at night, the same applies. As prayer becomes a habit, I will increase the time spent on it, without even noticing the foray it makes into my busy day. If I have trouble praying, I must repeat the Lord's Prayer, because it really covers covers everything, or whichever prayer suits you. Then I think of what I can be grateful for, to say a word of thanks. I don't need to shut myself in a closet to pray. It can be done even in a room full of people. I just remove myself mentally for an instant. As the practice of prayer continues, I will find I don't need words, for God can and does hear my thoughts through silence. And through silence we probably hear the answer. So prayer and meditation is about expression, internally or outwardly, and also listening. And for me that is a huge gift. And as Bill Sees It, another book where you can take a page a day or 10 pages a day, Face the Music on page 251. It says this: don't be too discouraged about that slip. And last night was all about relapse and what it's like to come back into the fellowship and how it feels once we get over the shame and guilt of being human yet again and having another go, another experience. Practically always we drunks learn the hard way. Your idea of moving on to somewhere else may be good, or it may not. Perhaps you've got into an emotional or economic jam that can't be well handled where you are. But maybe you are doing just what all of us have done at one time or another. Maybe you are running away. Why don't you try to think that through again, carefully? Are you really placing recovery first, or are you making it contingent upon other people, places or circumstances? You may find it ever so much better to face the music right where you are now, and with the help of the AA program, when through. Before you make a decision, weigh it in these terms. And based on listening last night to what it's like to come back after a slip, always it's better to come back, express it, get it out in the open. Don't let shame and guilt keep us out there. So what helps me always on a daily basis, the serenity prayer of acceptance to God, all good conscience of your understanding. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is simply and always just for today.